Hi there, it's Donna from Taffy Crafting. So I'm part of a YouTube hop today, and all the links to all of the other participants in the hop will be in the description bar. And we have been challenged to use one stamp set 4 ways, and then also really part of the challenge for me is to try and get this video into 20 minutes. So I've got 5 minutes per card, so I can't make absolutely everything, but I've made some things in advance, and also I've got some other things prepped and ready to go. So here's the stamp set that I'm going to be using. This is the one that I've chosen. Everybody's chosen their own stamp set. I've chosen to use Good Morning Magnolia, just because it's quite a versatile stamp set. It's got some lovely sentiments on there, and it's got this beautiful huge magnolia, which I'll be showing you just shortly. But let me start off with the first card that I made. Now I did make a video of me making this, and I forgot to put my phone to do not disturb, and then I got a phone call partway through it, and that was it, the video ended. So what I did with this, I had a piece of granny apple green cardstock, and that measured 11 3/4 by 4 1/8, and then I took off the bottom 2 inches, and then I left 2 inches here. So what I took out of here was a piece that measured 1 7/8 by 4 1/8. And with that piece, what I did is then put onto there 4 fussy cut magnolias. So I stamped this with smoky slate onto Whisper White cardstock. I used my watercolour pencils I put some Calypso Coral here and some Old Olive with Early Espresso, and then just blended them with my blender pens. And using mini stamping dimensionals, I then put those onto that piece of missing card, and then that card connects with the top part of this card and the bottom part of this card. Now I haven't used any DSP with this, and DSP would be better because it gives some stability to the card. But what I wanted to show you was just how you could do some tone on tone stamping. So took that stamp again, used Granny Apple Green ink, and then put tone on tone stamping on here. What it's just missing is a sentiment, and you can stamp that there, and then you can write out the rest of your card. So that's card 1. Card 2, slightly more complicated card. I've got a card for everybody here. I've got, for different types of crafters, what I'm trying to say there, I've got a piece of card here, again, 11 3/4 by 1 1/8, scored down the long side at 5 7/8. And then I've got a piece of Whisper White cardstock. This measures 3 7/8 by 5 5/8, and that's going to sit on there as a layer. And then I've got another piece of, this is Rich Razzleberry, and this piece of Rich Razzleberry measures 2 3/4 by 4 inches, and then this piece measures, this is Whisper White, measuring 3 3/8 by 2 5/8. And that's going to sit in there like that. Now before we do anything with those, you just want the white pieces. Now if you want to, you can stick those down with something that's just tacky, because what you need to be able to do is then take that off. So the last few times that I've done this, it's just got 2 stuck, and then I've just ruined it. So I'm just going to keep that there. I'm going to take this stamp set again. I've already made a card very similar to this, I just wanted to show you how to make it. So that's what I made before, but I've got something in different colours. So I'm going to get my smoky slate ink, just line this up. I'm going to use my grid paper for that, it's just slightly off. Line it up, and then you're going to stamp. I'll hold that down, and you want some of these to go off the paper. On to cover both layers. You need to keep turning your stamp round as well. And I want one here, I want a whole one. So I'm just going to keep stamping. over those two layers, and you have got to hang on to them. I'm not going to put one at the bottom because my sentiment's going to go there. Right, I'm going to go with that. And then what I did, just with this middle one, watercolour pencils again. So let's find a nice colour. I've got Melon Mambo in here somewhere. Do you think I could find it? Well, let's use Calypso Coral. So, because I do think that Magnolias have that lovely light pink colour. And with these watercolour pencils, nobody needs to be an amazing artist with these. So I would normally spend a lot more time colouring. I just want to try and show you the effect that I'm trying to get. And then I've got some green. This is Old Olive. And we're not looking at super duper colouring with this. You'll see why. If you've never used these watercolour pencils before, these are great. I love them. And then I've got Early Espresso there for the stalk, and I use these as well for that first card that I made. I'm having a quick peek, see how I'm doing on time. Only 6 minutes. So I'm going to start off with just by blending, and it just takes away all of those kind of line marks that you make. Oh, I didn't colour in that one. That was a major fail. Yeah, it just takes all of those line marks away. It's a lovely therapeutic thing to do, this watercolouring. I love it. And then just to get the colour off of that, you only need to do that and then move on to your other colours. I'm doing this with the birds tweeting in the sky or in the trees. It's a lovely, peaceful day. See what I mean? In that we just scribbled in those spaces, but this blender pen, you don't want to put too much pressure on because it is slightly damp and it will go through. I didn't colour that one in either. And it will go through to the other side. I've put myself under too much pressure here. Let's get these done in time. But you kind of get the gist of what I'm doing there. And then just blend that coral, and I've not got that going all the way up because with flowers, now I don't know a lot about flowers, but the colour seems to be quite intense at the start of the petal, and then that intensity dies away as you get towards the end of the petal. Well, that's what I think anyway. And there we go. So you would spend a lot longer on that. So the next thing that we do, we then get our rich razzleberry layers. So I'm going to put that on there, not just yet, I'm going to build this up first. So I'm going to put that smaller white layer onto there, and I'm going to use liquid glue for that, just because I need that little bit of manoeuvrability to make sure this is in the right spot. Put that on there like that. And then we put that there, and we just, so I hope you can see what I've done there. It's kind of in a non-coloured around the outside, and then it's coloured, and that's quite subtle with that. So we just need to glue that on, and again I thoroughly recommend liquid glue. And taking your time. So put it down roughly where it should be, and then just wiggle it about a bit until you've got it in the spot where you think, I think it needs to go up a little bit. There we go. Yep, I'm going with that. I'm not going to think too much about that. I'm going to get my sentiment on as well. So I'm going to, which sentiment did I choose? It's quite a small one for this. That might just fit. So I'm using the Hello sentiment here. Get that onto my block, which is a dirty block, so I just need to clean that off. And I'm going to stamp that in Rich Razzleberry. Just get that. Actually got that straight first time. And then using dimensionals. And there are other ways that you could decorate this. You could get some ribbon on there, some rhinestones. And I'm going to put that on there like that. In fact, I think I'm going to put that there just so that it goes over and it doesn't feel like it's been squashed on. So more dimensionals. I love these things. So already thinking about my next project. And we're going to bring out the big stamp. Let's get my card base. Some more wet glue, just because we've just got a tight border around this. And on there like that. So far we have 2 cards. And I've used this in both of those, so we'll use something else for the next one. I've got a piece of Pear Pizzazz cardstock, measuring 7 by 10, and I've scored down the middle of the long side at 5 inches to give us a 5 by 7 card base. And then I've got a Whisper White layer. You could use Very Vanilla if you wanted to. That measures 4 3/4 by 6 3/4, and that's the layer that I'm going to stamp on. So I've got a big block for this, and we're going to get out the big stamp. Oh, my block's not big enough. I'll find me a big block. My big block. So when I've got a big stamp like this, when I'm going to be doing a bit of colouring, I'm going to first stamp in Smoky Slate. I just prefer that for colouring, but you could use basic grey, you could use black, you could use Memento black. So make sure all of that is covered. And I am going to, I can never decide which way to put it. I'm going to put that there, like that. and I want to have a nice sentiment on there. I'm not quite sure which one I'm going to put. I think I'm going to use the Thinking of You stamp, and I'm going to stamp that in Pear Pizzazz right down the bottom. I'm just going to test that because it's new ink. That's fine. Pear Pizzazz is the latest ink in my collection. Only arrived the other day. Now, let me show you what I'm going to do with these. I'm going to colour the leaves first. I'm going to colour the leaves in Pear Pizzazz. So I'm going to get my stamping pad and give it a little squeeze. Didn't do what I was expecting it to do. You've got to squeeze quite hard. That's it. And it leaves a little bit of ink on that ink pad there. And then what I do using the aqua blenders is just pick up a little bit of that colour. And I'm only very lightly going to be colouring in these leaves. Now again, because I am a little bit pushed for time, this is going to be something that is going to seem a bit rushed. And I would prefer to take my time with it, but you would also not make your card too wet. And don't overthink your colouring. So these aqua blenders are filled with water. You don't need to squeeze them. Maybe at first to get a bit of moisture to the brush. But I would definitely spend a lot more time with this. Going to blot up that water. It suddenly blotted out a load of water there. It's completely ruined that leaf. Don't know why that did that. So you kind of get the idea, just picking up a bit of colour and then working it around. And like I said, don't overthink it. I'm going to see if I can get some colour on there. And then I'm just going to get out Blushing Bright. How are we doing on time? Well, I'm never going to make the 20 minutes. So with Blushing Bride, I think this is a perfect colour for a Magnolia. For someone who knows absolutely nothing about flowers, I think this is a nice colour for a Magnolia. So you would just work your way round your flower. There's quite a lot of flower for me to cover here in an extremely short space of time, but I just want to show you the things that you can do with these inks. And just to remind you as well, I am going to do a blog post for these, so you'll see the finished articles exactly as I would expect them to look, not with a very rushed 20-minute video, which is not going to be 20 minutes anymore. You just use those stroke marks from your aqua blender. And use it like a paintbrush, and if you feel it's getting too wet, then just blot it on a piece of tissue. Okay, so you kind of get the idea of what's going on there. So you could build up your colour like that. Like I said, don't let it get too wet. I've got my sentiment on there. I just need to find the top for this. Sentiment on there, and then I would just stick that onto my card, and you've got, just with one ink and then some colours that you're going to colour it with, you've got a very simple card. Finally, let's just round this off, and I'm going to be using these flourishes, and I need to, I've got too many stamps and things out at the moment. Let's just get rid of that. Oh, that's it, that one will do. And I'm going to use this, and I'm going to use, I think I'm going to use Rich Razzleberry again. No, actually I found another one. I'd like to use a different colour. I thought I'd show you Gorgeous Grape. You're just sending somebody a note. You just want a card. You don't want loads of flowers or anything on it. You just want the card to say something. So I'm just going to use this flourish here at the top and at the bottom. Just line it up. Have that there. That could have stamped a little bit better. Maybe it's supposed to do that. I'm looking at the stamp actually. I think it's supposed to do that. Yes, it is actually supposed to look like that. There's me thinking I hadn't stamped it properly. And I'm going to put another one at the bottom. So this card base is 5 7/8 by 8 1/4, and then I've scored it down the long side at 4 1/8. So there's our little flourish there, and then let's just get some words. So I wanted to use thanks, which I've got over here. Gosh, it's just too much stuff all over the place. So I've got thanks. Always good to have a thanks sentiment, I think. So I'm going to line that up there like that. So let's just get that straight there. I'm not mixing the colours up on this. I'm just using one colour. And then I'm going to use this one, not only for what you do, but for being someone so special. Going to need a bigger block. But at least it's the last part of this video, the very last thing. So please make sure that you go and visit everybody else on the blog hop. I hope you get inspired. I keep calling it a blog hop, it's a YouTube hop. I hope you get inspired by some of the lovely projects. I can't wait to see what people have done. So this is an ideal card for somebody that maybe has gone above and beyond. And you could layer that up with, you know, on white, perhaps then put some Gorgeous Grape cardstock with another layer of white. But just a card to say thank you to someone, and thank you for tuning in and for joining me. I hope you liked it. If you did, then please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. I try and do lots of simple techniques for the beginner or the basic crafter. So if that's your type of thing, then please come and subscribe, and I'll have some new videos coming up very soon. See you then. Bye bye.